Hello. Oh, I forgot my thing.
Hello.
Always forget something.
Okay.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All righty. So here we are, lesson 3. Well, I had several people tell me that they couldn't make it last time and they were going to try to be here this time, and that didn't look like that happened.
That's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, here we are. So we last time we talked about our spiritual relationship,
Mhm.
and we talked about how everybody has a common spiritual father and a common spiritual mother, even though we have physical parents. And we have celestial worlds that you use a telescope to see because they are way farther than away from the sun than is the earth. And then we have the terrestrial life, which is terra firma, that's our earth. So we have everything that we've got here, people and plants and animals and insects and trees and minerals. All that stuff is here on earth. And then we have the celestial planets, which are the stars. Our celestial planet is our sun, our star. So this week we're going to talk about all the critters that live in these worlds. Oh no, this week we're going to talk about the circle.
Okay. Circling the tree.
The circle, yes, and the flowering tree. So the circle is a universal symbol of the Great Spirit and those things which are of his workings. Black Elk has an interesting thing he says here about all the things that an Indian does in a circle. He says, you've noticed that everything an Indian does is in a circle, and that is because the power of the world always works in circles, and everything tries to be round. So can you think of things that try to be round? What can you think of that tries to be round?
Drop of water.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Here in the lesson here, he talks about tornadoes are whirl around and they're round, and hurricanes are like that. And what else is round? Well, we'll just read it. It says, in the old days when we were a strong and happy people, all our power came to us from the sacred hoop of the nation. And as long as the hoop was unbroken, the people flourished. The flowering tree was the living center of the hoop, and the circle of the four quarters nourished it. The east gave peace and light, the south gave warmth, west gave rain, and the north with its cold and mighty wind gave strength and endurance. This knowledge came to us from the outer world with our religion. Everything the power of the world does is in a circle. The sky is round, and I have heard that the earth is round like a ball, and so are all the stars. The wind in its greatest power whirls. Birds make their nests in circles, for theirs is the same religion as ours. The sun comes forth and goes down again in a circle. The moon does the same, and both are round. Even the seasons form a great circle in their changing, always coming back again to where they were. The life of a man is in a circle from childhood to childhood, and so it is in everything where power moves. So have you seen other things that are in a circle that show where power has moved? Can you think of anything else?
Where power has moved.
Well, it talks about
uh,
the teepees being in a circle. You know, that's
sure, sure. Okay.
teepees are in a circle. And have you ever been in a teepee? There is a vortex of power
No.
inside. I lived in one for 2
Oh
summers
my
and
goodness.
one very cold winter, which made me not want to do that again. But I learned that there's a swirly feeling inside.
Uh-huh.
It's odd. It's very relaxing. It makes, and I think that's part of why there's no bugs in a teepee. It keeps all the flying things out. for some reason.
Well, that's interesting. I've seen the inside of the Navajo, the Dene, uh, and the way they lay their beams. It's
Oh,
stunning. It's
yes.
another thing that is in a circle, certainly. My husband's cooking.
He's what?
My husband is cooking. Can you tell? You may hear the siren.
Oh,
He was warming
no,
up pizza. I'm in the back of the house, and here he is making this noise.
that's okay. I don't hear it.
Okay,
Anyway,
good, good, good.
when I was in Utah, have you ever been to the Arches National Park?
I have never been, but I want to go.
It is so pretty. That all of these arches are they're great big stones that the apparently the wind has drilled a hole in. It's just odd that the wind could have that much power. I was while I was over in that area, I drove to the Four Corners area, Utah and
Yeah.
Colorado, and so on my way over there, I passed this great big long mesa that was probably a mile long and maybe, I don't know, 100 stories high. It was like a side of a mountain. It was a big wall, flat wall, just straight flat wall. And in the center of this great big huge wall was a perfect circle, big enough to put a couple of great big houses in. I mean, it was a huge circle in the middle of this mountain, the side
Wow.
of this thing. And to look at it, you'd have to think, well, how in the world could somebody have done that? You'd have all the scaffolding and all the work that would take to, and then why would you do that? For what?
Right?
There was, and so the only thing I could think of while I was there looking at that was that the power of the world works in circles and everything tries to be round. It
I,
was the
I,
weirdest
I
thing.
it's, yep. I don't like cells around, typically. They tend to be round, and things inside the body tend to want to put everything in the center. Um, when I was studying biology, I noticed that.
Huh.
So yeah,
Have you ever seen anything else that was weird that was round that made you go, what's that?
oh my gosh. There's probably too many things. Sometimes I see a perfectly round rock just on the ground, which stuns me. Um, uh, and and round animals in the ocean with like two little
Oh,
flippers that spin it around. I don't know if
yeah,
how
yeah.
inefficient
Like the
that would
puffer
be, but
fish, the
they,
puffer fish does that.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure. And I think, boy, that's
yeah.
got to slow you down. But apparently, that's the way it has to be for them.
Well, I saw this weird thing. I was on Eli's land one summer after the harvest was over with, and I came walking down the road towards Alliday's house, and here was this great big dust devil in the middle of
Oh
the
wow.
field that was now empty, and it was just perfectly standing still. It wasn't moving, wasn't going this way or that way. It was just standing there perfectly still. And it was probably 20 feet high. And I
Oh
thought, well,
wow.
it must be dissipating. That's why it's standing still like that. So I thought, well, I'll go stand in it and break it up, right?
How'd that
Never do
go?
that. Yeah, I got sandpapered. So
Oh.
don't do that. But here comes one of my friends. Althea was coming down the road, and I said, "Look at this strange dust devil here. It's just been standing here all this time." And as we were marveling about how it wasn't moving, why wasn't it moving? That it started moving. It started going down the road, like it was walking down the road, like it was alive, like it had a
Wow.
consciousness, and it went inside this great big cave that where Eli had pulled a 30-foot trailer and he had a picnic table and it was a great old cave. And this thing went into the cave. And I thought, well, doesn't he can't do that. How does it do that? And as we were marveling about this weird thing that happened, we were standing at the crook of the road, and apparently there was a sinkhole right there that apparently hooked up to the cave. And as we stood there, this dust devil came up out of that sinkhole. How did he do that? As I thought, like a tornado, there's there's a connection. There's some basis of
Sure,
making
that's
it do
right.
this. So, but I don't know. It was the
What
strangest
did
thing I ever
Eli
saw.
say about what did Eli say about that dust devil?
Oh, he was gone by then. He
Oh,
wasn't there. It was just Alade, and she said if Althea hadn't been there to to verify what I was saying, she wouldn't have believed it.
exactly. Thank goodness she was around. Absolutely. The stuff we see.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there's
Wow.
lots of things like that are
Wow.
round and very powerful. Here it
Yep.
ends up by saying our teepees were round like the nests of birds, and these were always set in
Mm.
a circle. Our nation's hoop, a nest of many nests, where the Great Spirit meant for us to hatch our children. It's noted that the French explorers noted in 1660 that when they came to the Sioux Nation, they came up over a hill and they saw 28,000 teepees. So,
Um,
wow, big community. That must have been quite a sight. And
I
this,
hope we have that again. I hope we can clear a mountain one day and see it all again, just that same way.
yep. On the next page here, it talks about Hemiosis Storm says, he's a philosopher, I'll tell you. He writes some interesting things. Here he says, it is change, life, death, birth, and learning. This great circle is the lodge of our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. It is the cycle of all things that exist. The circle is our way of touching and experiencing harmony with every other thing around us. For those who seek understanding, the circle is their mirror. The circle is the flowering tree. Now that's a heavy duty thing he's just said there,
That's,
because
yeah.
every one of these things is like, wow. You say the circle is
Ooh,
our way of touching and experiencing harmony with every other thing around us. So in the spirit world, we don't touch. We feel each other's energy, but touch is has to have skin. Has to have nerve endings. That's
sure.
a it's a physical thing. So the circle is our way of touching and experiencing harmony with every other thing around us, because in the spirit world, we're plugged into that energy, and we want to be there. It's so beautiful. That energy is like, we want to be there so bad. We want harmony. We just don't want anything else but to be
I
with that.
know.
But here we
I
have a
know that.
choice.
Yeah.
Here we have free will. Here we can decide, nope, I'm not going to do that. And that's okay, because we're allowed. We can screw around as much as we want. So the only way we can really experience touch and the desire to be in harmony is when you're in incarnate. So for those who seek understanding, the circle is their mirror. Now that's an interesting thing. We talk about mirrors here a little later, I think. But one of the things that Eli said about the mirror was that our environment reflects, mirrors our inner thoughts and feelings to teach us the value
Sure.
of living in a relaxed and loving frame of mind, because whatever you put out is what you get back, right? So if you're if
Right.
you're if you're angry and you're frustrated and upset, then that's what you're attracting, because the law of attraction is everywhere. Whatever you put out is what you get back. So for those who seek understanding, the circle is their mirror. So you can understand how you are by watching what happens around you, how you
Sure.
interact, how others interact with you. The circle is the flowering tree. Now, over here it said the circle was a symbol of the Great Spirit, and those things were of his workings. But here it says the circle is the flowering tree. So if the circle is the Great Spirit, then the Great Spirit must be the flowering tree.
Yeah.
The circle is the symbol of completion and perfection. So let's think about this flowering tree, the tree of life. Almost every tribe has in its legends a story of a flowering tree or a tree of life. Black Elk said, "Younger brother," he said, "with the powers of the four quarters you shall walk, a relative. Behold, the living center of a nation I shall give you, and with it many you shall save." And I saw that he was holding in his hand a bright red stick that was alive. And as I looked, it sprouted at the top and sent forth branches. And on the branches, many leaves came out and murmured. And in the leaves, the birds began to sing. And then for just a little while, I thought I saw beneath it in the shade the circled villages of people and every living thing with roots or legs or wings. And all were happy. So I think what he's talking about here, this tree of life, he says he was holding in his hand a bright red stick. Well, in the spring, when the ends of the branches of the trees, get ready to sprout, the ends of them turn red just before the leaves come out. So I think that's what he's talking about. Is it's ready to sprout. It's red. It's got full of life force and it's just ready to sprout. So planting a tree of life. Then Onosa down here says, many winters ago, our wise ancestors predicted that a great monster with white eyes would come from the east, and as he advanced, would consume the land. I suppose that meant the tree of life, too. This monster is the white race, and the prediction is near its fulfillment. I think that because of the Indian religion wasn't allowed to even be talked about until 1978. And so I think the idea of us all belonging to one tree of life, one family tree, was like hidden from everybody, deliberately
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
hidden from people. So
Yeah.
when they became weak, they advised their children to plant this tree with four roots branching to all the directions so that everybody's included. This family tree goes to all the directions, branching to the north, east, south, and west, and then collect under its shade to dwell together in unity and harmony. Now, do you think this means to come together and sit together under one physical tree and just be there? Or do you think it's
Well,
like a family tree?
with the four directions, it seems to me more like a family tree.
Mhm.
Also accessing the virtues of each direction for the
Yes.
tree, so that the tree is our own unity as well. That functionally, that we've
Everyone's included.
that's right, everyone's included in that, and that we become aspects of all of the functions of that tree as a living community.
Yes, yes. And then it says, collect under its shade to dwell together in unity and harmony. And I think what that means is that we need to come together and have one thought, one desire to help Mother Earth, or something that's
Yeah,
universally
yeah,
something we can all
yes,
get behind.
that's right. Yeah,
That's what I think it means is plant that tree, make sure everybody realizes that we're one, we're all relatives.
And oh, sorry, I interrupt. You can look at it too as like planting the seed back to nature and the basic spirituality as well of everything being, yeah, sort of one again. Yeah, because every like all the religions split off and do their thing, and then it's not always right. I mean, some might be, but yeah, it's sort of about yeah coming back to the beginning sort of thing where it was all good.
Yes,
yeah, I
yes.
really agree with that too. Absolutely,
Coming back to the
absolutely.
basics. Mhm.
Yeah,
So the tree of life is a universal symbol, which is also found in the creation story of the Bible as a beautiful tree in the center of the garden or the circle.
Oh, yeah.
So now here's where it gets interesting. The meaning of hope that lies within the teaching of the flowering tree is found in the relationship between the Great Spirit and all living things. Now, what is this relationship?
I was reading that. I've read that a couple times and I've been pondering that.
Well, you know, it said the circle was a symbol of the Great Spirit, and the circle is the flowering tree. So if the flowering tree is the Great Spirit, then this picture of the tree down here has got everything on it. It's got all the life forms that are in our solar system.
Mm.
And this whole tree here is part of the Great Spirit. It's like we're all a drop in the ocean, and the ocean is the Great Spirit, but we're a part of it, you know. So what is the
And
meaning of hope?
I kind of think it's like he's our father. It's sort of like everyone coming back, yeah, to like your father sort of thing. Yeah. Sort of, and the tree, well, tree represents him as like the top as well as the base, which is earth. So it's all about sort of, yeah, we're all his, well, he's like with all the other three classes we've done, it's all about, yeah, him being the center of everything and we're all his children. So it's kind of, yeah,
Yes.
coming back to.
Yes, very good. So the tree is the unity of all things in their growth toward perfection. The unity of all things in their growth toward perfection. So as we progress, you know, we're helping the tree to grow. And so that means the Great Spirit is also growing because he's not stopped. You know, there's no end to perfection. You just keep going. So the tree is the unity of all things in their growth toward perfection, the unity of all things. So if the tree is the Great Spirit and the tree is the unity of all things, then we're all part of this. For all of creation is alive with the same life force energy. Do you ever think about that? You know, the center of every atom is light. And it says in the Bible, it says that God is light, in him there is no darkness. You know, 1 John chapter 1, verses 5-7. So all of creation is alive with the same life force energy. So at the center of every atom, you know, they've tried to name it quarks, and then they try to make, you know, get the smaller and smaller, but then they get down to the smallest part of the light, and then there's nothing there. There's just light. that's the center of every atom. Is nothing really. It's just light. So, and all of creation is alive with this same life force energy. So in us, our light is God's light. We're part of that whole creation. We're part of the energy grid, I guess you could call it, that is God, that is the creator. Within the parts of the tree are found all the parts of creation in their upward climbing toward the level of being known by the Great Spirit. So we're all climbing up this tree, climbing as we go. The tree of life illustrated below is a symbolic representation of the path of progress of the eternal mind, or spirit, as Eli described it, with the corresponding levels of mortal life. Now, I find it interesting that he always seems to equate mind and spirit. So I have a hard time wrapping my brain around that your mind could be your spirit. But I guess, you know, it says in the tree of life that aware humans, you know, are more intelligent than the non-aware humans. And so I guess that would make sense that
Or maybe the mind can be informed by the spirit.
Say
If
that
we open
again.
our mind to be in, if we open our mind to be more informed by the spirit having access to wordlessness and those things that we can't see, perhaps that's an aspect of that connection.
Yes. The path of progress of
The
the
path
eternal
of
mind or
progress.
spirit.
Yep. Or spirit. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to talk about this diagram here. As the intelligence or mind grows, it comes to inhabit increasingly more complex physical bodies. This progression begins at the roots of the tree and ascends to the top and beyond. For mental, spiritual progression is never ending. So you never get to a point and say, okay, I'm perfect now. I'm not going to go any farther. This is it. I'm stopped. You said, look at me, I'm done. I don't think there's ever a place like that. I think
Thank goodness.
I think I think if we're waiting for a destination, we're going to be waiting forever. So
That's right.
enjoy the journey because it's the journey that we're on. So, okay, at the left of the tree is listed the types of progressive worlds, and that's what we studied last time. Was that celestial that when we have to use a telescope to see? Has the creative thought, the electrical, the
That's
atomic,
interesting.
chemical, and the mineral. Those are in the outer planets. Then the terrestrial world, our terra firma, this Earth, has plants, animals, non-aware humans, and aware humans. And then the celestial world, our star, our sun, has spirits that are ecologically suited to the to their planet, and so they don't mind the heat and all that because they don't have bodies, so they don't have to worry about that. They're just spirits, spirit people, spirit chiefs. And then we get to the 7 stars, which are the stars in our solar system. And then at the top of the tree is the Great Spirit. But the Great Spirit is really all of it. He has lent his energy to the entire tree.
Sure. I thought it was really interesting that as you go down through the mineral, chemical, atomical, and electrical, that these are things that get smaller and smaller, and you need a scope to see the smallest, and you need to have a scope to see the
Oh,
furthest away.
yeah, okay, I like
And
that.
and I loved that when you got to the creative thought in the ground, that really is the great spirit at the top. So get back into that creativity of the thing again to regenerate back up again. I don't know how I'm supposed to see it, but that's kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, yes. Okay. On the trunk of the tree, we see the levels of life that live in these worlds. In the terrestrial world, there's no life higher than the mineral, celestial. The crystals and precious stones are considered to be the chiefs, having the highest level of vibration and intelligence among those life forms whose bodies include those of the rocks and minerals. So the crystals, they say they use quartz in radios because they transmit light, they transmit energy. And so I think that the crystals are the things that transmit the most light, just like, anything else. And so they are at the top of of the minerals. And then in the terrestrial world, there's no life higher than human. In the celestial world live the spirits who have perfected from the mortal world and no longer need bodies.
Mm.
To the right of the illustration is the level of mental growth upon the tree of life as compared to the lifespan of a human. Since the status of the Great Spirit Father is that of a mental or spiritual adult, this places aware humans in the status of children. And non-aware humans are as mental infants, for infants don't know or care about the details of what's going on in the adult world. Star Trek has this wonderful prime directive that I always go
Yeah.
back to. That if they don't know we're up here, then we shouldn't interfere because they have to ask us to interfere. And so I think that's how our spirit guides are, how the creator is if we don't call upon them for help, they say, okay, well, you just handle it yourself then.
That's right.
So you got to call on them. You can't just assume that, they know what's in your mind and they'll help you out. They will try, but it would work better if you directly ask.
That's an
Okay.
important point because I'm not one to ask, to think
Yeah.
to ask.
Yes. Well, I was a kid with my kids when we're out in the car. I send my parking fairies to go find me a parking space.
Well, I know with me, I once I started taking an interest in the spiritual side of life, that's when my guides started showing up in my life. Not
Mm,
necessarily showing up, but they started sending me information, and I
yeah.
noticed it, I was like, where'd that come from,
Yes.
So,
Yep.
Yes. Mhm. If you ask them, if you've got a question and you say, help me find out what this is, help me get to the answer, then they will direct you. You'll run into people who will say the weirdest things. One time I was
yeah.
having I was, Eli had talked about there being 7 doctors in the for herbal medicine. And so I was working on healing a meniscus tear I had. And so
Mm,
I was getting comfrey, and I was thinking that comfrey has to be one of the 7 doctors. And I thought, well, Eli's gone. There's nobody to ask. How am I going to find out whether that's one of the 7 doctors? And so I wondered about it for a while, and then I forgot about it, and I went to work, and there was a lady that came in, and I was telling her about using comfrey, and how good that was, and she says, it's one of the 7 doctors. Right out of the
well,
blue. I mean, how would she even know?
how did she know?
So you just ask to help
Yeah.
you figure out something, and the weirdest things happen. It's just crazy. Okay. It may be noticed that the pattern of growth on the tree of life is actually in a circle. All life starts as creative thought of the Great Spirit.
Mhm.
This thought stirs the spirits of the tiny beings, which are called electrons, whose world lies deep within the roots of life. They are thus moved into patterns which form the basis of the next world, or level of thought, which is slightly higher in complexity and intelligence. See, all the way through here, he's talking about spirit and mental, spirit and mind. It just always amazes me. This growth in complexity, physically, mentally, and spiritually, continues through the terrestrial levels of plants, animals, and human beings, and into the spirit world, where it finally reaches the level of the Great Spirit, the source of all creative thought within the tree, thus completing the circle. It is in this way that all living things are a part of the Great Spirit. So the Great Spirit is really this whole tree because he's holding it all together. It's his life force. It's his desire to understand things, I guess. If he's the whole thing and he's experiencing life on all these different levels, then it must be his desire to do that.
That's right.
Anyway, we're all growing. He's growing, we're growing, everybody's growing. And the more that we grow, we are helping the tree to grow.
Yeah.
So here, Ality she wrote some great poetry. Here she says, she wrote a whole book called The Song of the Cherokee. She
Oh,
says, we will plant a tree of life, a tree of life and tree of wisdom. Members of the once forgotten grow to gather in its branches, branches green and branches living. We will not forget its lesson. Turn it into living wisdom. For the shade of this green new tree spreads across the land its shadows, living, living for forever. We will nourish it and love it, for the Spirit One who made us also made a wisdom spirit, spirit to be ever with us. Yes, she wrote some great poetry. I'll tell you what.
Oh,
Well, let's ask these questions. What does the circle symbolize? What did we say the
the
circle
great.
was? Yes?
Oh, I wanted to say the Great Spirit, but maybe I should say
Yes.
it differently. Okay.
Yes, that's what it says. According to Black Elk, why is it that everything an Indian does is in a circle?
Well, why can I not come up with a fastest answer?
Everything an Indian does is in a circle. Why is that?
The power of the world always works in circles.
Yes, tries to. Give some examples of how the power of the world always works in circles.
Oh, like the sun and the moon rotate around the earth constantly. So it's sort of, there's always the beginning and then it goes a full circle around. So yeah, the seasons as well. So
That's right.
They all come back, form a
That's
circle.
perfect.
So some examples of things that the Indian does in a circle.
They dance.
They dance in a circle. Yes, it includes everybody. There's room for everybody. They put their teepees in a circle. Yes.
and they also had the sacred hoop, which they made
sacred hoop.
and sort of was also that was all to do with seasons and everything else as well. So they kind of
Yeah.
guess it was like that was their way of speaking to spirit.
The sacred hoop of the nation. Okay. Emiosa Storm was quoted saying, "The circle is the flowering tree." Can you tell me how you think that works? Grant, you want to try that one? The circle is
You're
the
up,
flowering
Grant.
tree.
Yeah, well, good luck. Well, it really is just the sample of the tree, right? Like it starts with cradle thought and moves all the way through the motions. So, one second, I just want to look at what he said, what your question was again, because I had a thought. So from a creative thought becomes the flowering, like of the trees. So we evolve through the thought. Is that a good way of looking at this?
I forgot where we were. What question
The
are we
circle
on?
is the flowering tree. Please discuss. And storm.
So what did you say was the answer?
I hope I can say it again.
I know I'm having that trouble too.
No, because it's a very deep. Today I didn't get the chance to go through my notes or my thought process the way I normally do because work was just a little bit crazy.
Okay.
It starts with a creative thought, and from that creative thought moves. It is how the tree of life works. So we end up at a destination or in the final part from the start of a creative thought, and that's the tree of life. And then it starts over again. So the flowering is the creative thought process, is what I'm thinking.
Yes, actually, yes. We'll talk about that in lesson 5. But when the spirit reaches the point where they have a planet to babysit, and they're ready to go on. They're ready to be plucked and tossed into space to start their own worlds. But we'll discuss that part later.
I also like on that question too. It's like it's about existence. So yeah, it's sort of like life, death, birth, learning.
Yeah.
And it's also because he stated also it's the lodge of our bodies. So it's everything to do with us and him all in Yeah. Yeah, and saw the
Yes,
flowering trees, everything.
Is everything.
it is. The flowering tree is all of life. Every life form there is in that flowering tree. And that's part of our family tree. We're all related because we have the same life force within us. So the circle is the flowering tree because it's life, birth, death, like you said. It's completely, it's a circular thing because we go around many times, every time. So it's more like a spiral,
Mm.
a circle. It's a circle because we keep going back around. So the quote from Onosa and on page 2 speaks of the prophecy of the wise ancestors. And the prophecy was that when this great monster comes from the east and it consumes the land, they advise their children when they become weak to plant a tree with 4 roots branching to the 4 directions and then collect under its shade to dwell together in unity and harmony. So the question is, what was this prophecy? So what does this prophecy mean? What is he talking about?
Almost like a full circle. Our Whiteys came in, ruined everything. Now we've got to get back to nature and fix it.
That's right.
Pretty simple.
That's
That's it.
exactly
Start all
right.
over again.
We got to get back to the tree. We got to remember that we're all related. That what you do to one, we do to everybody. So
We got to
we're
get back
all
to the root.
related. Yes,
We have to get back to the root.
and
We have
come
to get back to the
together.
way we were.
Yeah.
It says, collect under its shade to dwell together in unity and harmony. And I think what that means is not for us all to live together under trees, but that we're in unity and harmony in our minds, with our thinking. That yes, we want to help the earth. We want to make sure our water is clean. We want to make sure the air is clean. We want to make our earth nice and strong and healthy. So together in unity and harmony, I think it's common goals, unity and harmony. I think that's what that means. Okay. So when we become weak, which is now, I mean, this is it. We got to plant this tree. We got to remember that we're all related, that you can't just throw people out just because they're different. Because we need that. We need difference. Okay. In the prophecy, we talked about that. So what does Eli's vision of the tree of life symbolize?
That's tricky.
I went through. Oh.
Yes, Natalie?
Oh, so yeah, I read through earlier, and yeah, because I got like path of progress of the eternal mind or spirit. So it's kind of constantly growing ourselves to go to the top and then die probably and then come back down and start all over again.
Yes, with our own creative thought to create our own children. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I don't think we're starting over again, are we?
Well, we're starting. Well,
we
it's
grow
like,
and then we get to where we're supposed to be, and then we plant another seed and grow again, right? Like we're
just
evolving.
like a family. You know, when your kids grow up, they go off and they start their own family.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And there's like an evolution, right?
There's only one blueprint, we're all doing the same thing. Okay, what is the meaning of hope that lies within the teaching of the flowering tree? What is the meaning of hope? It says on page 3, the meaning of hope lies within the teaching of the flowering tree is found in the relationship between the Great Spirit and all living things. So what does that mean? What's the hope? What hope is there?
The unity, I guess, just everybody just uniting again, how it was in the beginning.
Yes, well, we learned in the last lesson that nobody can stop your progress. This is a constantly, this tree is alive and growing and everything is growing. And so we're going, we're growing too. Nobody can stop us. We can slow ourselves down, by taking all kinds of side trips. But I don't think you can get through a whole lifetime without learning something. I think you have to learn something.
Yeah, I looked at the number for a long time, the meaning of hope that lies within the teachings of that flowering tree is found in the relationship between the Great Spirit and all living things. So there's a lot there. It it turns it turns through there quite a bit. Within the teaching of the flowering tree, our experience is found in the relationship between the Great Spirit and all living things.
So nobody's going to be abandoned. Nobody's going to be forgotten. We can just take as long as we want, but we're still a part of the tree and we're still growing. So I think that's the hope that there is eventually we're going to get there. And we're allowed to take as many side trips as we want, but eventually we're going to get there. If we compare the different levels of growth on the tree of life to the lifespan of a person and place the status of the Great Spirit as an adult, what is the status of the non-aware human?
They were like the infants that don't really care or, yeah, sort of just go on with the world like, yeah, I'm happy where I am. They're not really
Right,
connected. So they're still like little kids
right.
playing and they're kind of unaware of,
Yeah. These
yeah.
people like to pile up a bunch of money and build things and do stuff, but they're not really paying attention to the spiritual nature of things, or that they need to be concerned about other people.
Mm.
There's it's all about me.
And in today's context, wouldn't woke versus non-woke
Yes.
Yeah,
be
I
like
know. Funny
that
how
would
that
be
lines up.
in context, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Aware
yeah,
and
yes,
it
good
non-aware.
does.
point.
It does. It really
Yeah.
does. There was I saw that right away.
Yeah,
And
it stands out right there.
yeah,
Good point. Yes. Okay, so what is the difference between an aware and a non-aware human? That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
It's mostly awareness, right? That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Awareness
So,
of understanding, connection,
empathy.
sure.
empathy,
Yes.
The
all the
curiosity. Yeah,
Yes. So an aware human is just aware of more things. They notice more things. They're more aware of body language and the weather and the beautiful colors of things and how the planet is ecologically balanced, and these nuances of things that most people just don't pay attention to.
yeah. Observing, actively observing to learn.
Yes. Mhm.
We can stare at something to judge at it, say maybe at an art gallery, but it's another thing to observe something, to receive it, to understand it, to learn something from it. So maybe,
To be able to learn something from nature, I
oh
think
yeah,
that's a great
always.
awareness of things.
Oh, it's endless. Yeah.
Explain how the pattern of growth up through the different levels of the tree of life is in a circle. Example, electrons are created. Electrons and patterns are atoms, which form elements, which are chemical in nature. Chemical elements join together in minerals. Isn't that interesting that each one of these levels is like a whole different world?
Yeah.
But when you
Oh,
think about it, though, like all the root system with all the minerals and chemicals and whatever else in it, that's all actually inside us as well. So we've got water and
Yes.
we've got, yeah. So it's like, yeah, we start there and then we're like the branch that blossoms a flower. So we're born and yeah, it's just like
nice.
growing, isn't it?
I like that.
It is. I think embryonic is the word off to the right, actually, isn't it? To your point.
What'd you
Um,
say?
Yeah.
It is at the electrical level, this embryonic. It's like we start from that and we grow through. It's pretty astounding.
And
We've
according
got
to
all that
someone,
inside our body too. So
That's right. That's it.
according to someone like Dolores Cannon, I don't know if anyone else knows her, but she's one of my favorites by
Mm.
far. We were a rock.
Yes, we've
At
been
one
all
point,
these
we
things.
were a rock and we lived existence as a rock and gained all of our
Mm-hmm.
knowledge as a rock. So it's kind of like that circle of tree of life right there, right? So even though
Mhm.
we don't think we were a rock at some time, apparently we were.
Yes. It's much easier to see if you look at animals, though, I think.
But that's why it takes someone like Dolores Cannon when she puts these people under hypnotism and you read all the things, it kind of makes a lot
Yes.
of
Oh my
sense, right?
gosh.
That's where it makes sense. To try to explain it yourself is a little harder, but when you read her things, it does make sense. And then when we relate to this, and we're talking about this and all the different levels, you start to realize there's levels,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And we're at
Well,
a certain level on the tree. So within the tree are all these levels. It's starting at a rock, but then we've experienced that, so we don't need that thought anymore. We move up the tree in a certain pattern, but we still have that knowledge, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
We might
well,
not
rocks
subconsciously
rocks
get
can be. I
that knowledge.
was gonna say rocks can be diamonds and rubies too. So
I
they're
bet.
classified a
Yes.
rock.
True enough.
That's right.
Let's see. Explain the way that all living things are a part of the Great Spirit. Wow, can you put that into words?
Hardly.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, I think that comes from our nature talk at the beginning, right? At the beginning of this particular course is if you observe nature, everything's connected, and you see how well connected it is. When you're observing, it's just our egos get in the way. They don't have an ego, we do, and that's why we're a little more complicated because we have to get our ego in check. But the oneness is obvious, and we actually have creative thought. That's where it's also different for us, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's where we're kind of screwing it up right now.
Yes, we have to figure out how to get more of what we want, less of what we don't want. Okay, so to what extent do you feel we humans need the other life forms on this planet?
oh my gosh,
We can eat.
we'll die without them.
Yeah. What did you say, Natalie?
So we can eat. Like we need the plants and we need the animals and yeah, I mean that's basic. You want to get down to real basics. But we need it for everything, like oxygen. We need the trees for the oxygen. Everything is all in balance, so we all survive. If we
Yeah.
out of balance things too much, then we're gonna die. So yeah,
Yep, got to keep it all in balance. That's for sure. Everything is
yeah.
needed. In fact, there's some things that have gone extinct, and now they're saying that they've found
Coming back.
they're coming back somehow. How are they coming back? Where have they been? And then I heard a psychic the other day saying that all the life forms on this planet have been brought here from elsewhere because we needed them here. And so if something goes extinct, they can always bring us another couple. I just thought that was an interesting way to look at it. They say that octopus, is a totally strange animal. It's nothing
Oh
like
yeah,
anything
those are
else.
fantastic. Yeah, they really are.
Could be coming from somewhere else.
Absolutely. How could we not have that open thought? Right?
Yep.
Part of it.
Everything belongs.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever
Oh,
thought about this before? How everything is connected? How even the rocks
oh,
and the trees and the plants and
yeah,
animals and people.
yeah, yeah. It's like one living organism. And
Yes.
when you said it coming from the outer limits, then I'm thinking It's a really big tree.
It's a really big tree.
That there's no limit to how big this tree is.
So, and
And
this is
that,
just one this pattern is repeated throughout the universe. You know, every star
yeah,
has its own planets and its own children, and
yeah.
I don't know if physics is different on different on different solar systems. You think it's the same pattern everywhere. You would think it would be
I would think
similar.
they're different all over because that's
You
part
think
of
they're
our
Yeah,
different?
growth. I think that's part of our learning, right? Like, I think that's
sure,
the way we
sure.
humans think. We think we're the only thing that exists. But I
Yeah,
think many different levels of physics, and we're just dealing with one level of physics and probably
sure.
pretty basic level of physics when it
Yeah,
comes to the
yeah,
universe.
yeah.
Mhm.
Based on this planet and what created its dynamic, and
Ah,
so it's chemistry. So why not have it be a different way in other places, that's appropriate to that region and that chemistry, how it all got put together. I'm
well,
sure.
even when we said the other day, when you got different planets, like a planet that's all fire.
Yeah,
Apparently, there's beings that can live within that. So that
yeah,
would be different physics,
Mhm.
right? Even though we don't see it, that's different
absolutely.
physics.
Absolutely. I think it's not necessary that everything be the same, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the diversity of it. And
So much
those
to
lessons
learn.
are different than mine. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. So much to learn.
yeah.
Oh, so did you see my question about whose phone number that was?
Yeah, I don't know whose. It wasn't mine.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Somebody
409 seems was
somebody was at the
Beaumont,
last
Texas
two.
or something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know who that. I would like to give them credit for being there, but I don't know who that was.
Uh,
Okay.
Anyway, next time we'll talk about initiation because that's we're halfway through next time. So
okay.
if you're thinking about going further, then we need to at least introduce that idea.
And you mentioned that too is done in person, did you say?
Where are you?
I am in Texas, but we're moving to Vermont in June. So we'll be coming through different spaces. But
Oh, nice.
I have, once the winter eases up in itself right now, and travel is, what region are you?
Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get some snow here in a minute.
Yes. Yep. Everybody went to the store today.
Yep, yep,
But I
yep,
think
yep. My students.
we're like on the upper edge of where the snow is. So they're saying 4 to 6 inches.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, I
That's
figured. Well,
nice.
here it is. We're in the third week of January. We haven't had any snow yet. So I figured,
Really?
you know, we've been
I'm
missing
having
all the storms.
snow.
They go north and south of
Oh,
us,
for
but
heaven's
not
sake.
here.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So
You're
yeah,
We
gonna
have
get your first snow.
we got to have a
we're
little
having
bit of
more.
snow.
You can have some of ours. We don't
Oh,
usually get this much, and this year we're getting a lot.
Are you really? How much do you have?
Well, we've got about, I'd say 2.5 feet right now.
oh well, what region are
Normally,
you?
Toronto, in Toronto.
Ah, nice.
Normally, we're like, many winters we don't get snow. So this year it's just been snowing, and we're getting another storm this weekend. So,
Oh
Oh
my gosh.
yeah. Oh wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the
but
thing. Is
yeah,
it's all going north or south of us? I'm sure glad I'm not in
Yeah.
Arkansas today. Because, wow,
Yeah.
they're getting an ice
Yeah.
storm, and those are terrible
Yeah.
there because
They are. That's
everything's
what
on a
they're saying.
hill. You know, Arkansas
Oh
is all
yeah,
in the
that's
mountains. It's all so the
right.
roads become horrible when it's ice all over everything.
and then you
Oh
have
yeah, they are.
electricity problems. You have all kinds.
Oh
It's a major
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
major.
Storms are horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the ice storm to our area, and we don't know what to do with that at all. There's no management, there's no budget for getting the roads, drivable, and people think it's all a bunch of nonsense to drive carefully. So it's
It's true.
yeah, it's kind of entertaining. So we just stay home. We just stay home.
I noticed in Texas that all the roads have these signs that say drive friendly.
Yeah, I don't know who they're talking to. They're not talking to themselves for sure. My
Oh, hi,
cat says
Kitty.
hello.
Oh,
I
what a
got a little
cutie.
black kitty too.
Funny.
Well, thank you for coming. This has been really fun.
Oh, it
Yeah.
has been fun, and I
Thank
look
you.
forward to.
I needed it.
Next time
Yeah.
we'll talk about all of our relations with the animals and maybe some of our pets we'll get to talk about. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Met
next
one.
one is next one's real fun.
Well, that's good.
Okay, so I will see you next time.
All right.
Everyone,
Bye.
Everyone
Bye.
take care.
Bye, everyone.
take care.
Stay safe.